Imagine buying an underwear with your own money, just to find out that you used your hard-earned cash to purchase something that could destroy your destiny and your entire life. Well, this is another revealing story about a pant seller named Esther. Once upon a time, there lived a woman named Esther. She was a struggling widow with 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. She tried to make ends meet by selling biscuits and roasted granuts by the roadside. Life was hard, and she barely made enough money to feed her children. Esther was a struggling widow with a collapsing house. She was constantly mocked by her in-laws, especially after her husband died without leaving any property or money. One night, it rained very heavily. Esther was inside the house with her roof leaking heavily and her children crying from hunger. She was so confused and didn't know what to do. With tears in her eyes, Esther whispered a prayer. God, or whoever is listening, please help me. I'll do anything to make money and bring my children out of poverty. After that night's incident, it didn't take long before something happened. One very hot afternoon, Esther sat under the scorching sun with her children. The heat was unbearable and there was no shade to protect them. As she tried to wave away sweat from her forehead, a tall woman in a beautiful gown with long red braids that touched her waistline passed by. She paused for a moment after walking past Esther, looked back and saw the poor woman and her children struggling under the harsh sun. Pity washed over her face as she turned around, walked back to Esther and bought all the biscuits and granuts she was selling. Not only that, she paid double the price. The woman then asked, "Why are you here under this hot sun with your children?" Esther sighed deeply. "Life has been difficult. My husband died and left us with nothing. I'm just trying to survive." The mysterious woman nodded slowly and reached into her purse. She handed Esther a complimentary card that had no name on it, just an address to a strange location and a time. "If you want to stop suffering and you want your life to change, come to this address by 10 p.m. tonight. Come with a strand of your hair and a piece of fabric." That night, wearing the only wrapper she owned, Esther left her children with a neighbor and made her way to the address. When she arrived, the same woman was waiting. Esther presented the strand of hair and the fabric just as instructed. Without saying a word, the woman took the items and dropped them into a clay pot filled with fire. The pot blazed brightly and then died down. The woman turned to Esther and said, "From today, your life has changed. Go into the next room. You will see a pack of pants. They are trendy pants. Use them to start a new business. You will be selling panties." Esther entered the next room. It was like a large storage room, a warehouse packed to the brim with pants in bales. She was confused at first how this woman made a huge storage with this number of pants to sell. So she turned to her and eagerly asked her, "Do you buy these pants in large containers from Cameroon?" "Well, no," the woman replied. "These panties are specially manufactured by our kingdom. You have to be a member to sell it. It's not like every other pants you see in the market. Do not buy from any other pants vendor. Once you are done selling this first set, come to me. I will give you another set for free. You don't need to pay a dime." Esther's mouth dropped open in surprise, and she asked, "But why, ma?" "Because these pants will give us what we want. It will bring us money and power, and it will make us twice as rich, and we can profit from selling it directly. But for you not to be suspected, you have to sell yours just like other vendors, or keep the money, it's yours. And lastly, do not wear the pants or let any of your children wear them." Confused yet desperate, Esther nodded. She left and used the money she had received earlier to rent a small stall in Oshodi market. She started selling the beautiful and trendy panties, lace, silk, and cotton in different colors and styles. At first, to attract customers, she enchanted the panties so that whoever wore them experienced good luck, just as she was instructed earlier. Some girls got job interviews Some passed their visa applications and many found rich suitors or got engaged soon after. Word spread quickly that Esther's panties brought good luck. Her store became the most popular in the market. Girls rushed to buy from her and her business grew rapidly. But there was a hidden danger. These enchanted panties brought good luck only for the first 2 months. After that, things began to go wrong. The same girls who had gotten jobs were fired. Newly married women couldn't get pregnant and the pregnant ones suffered from miscarriage after miscarriage. Some started falling sick with no medical explanation, and many began to have disturbing nightmares, dreams of being chased by snakes or dogs or drowning in rivers. Unknown to them, Esther was draining their essence through the panties. Their beauty, health and success were being siphoned into her own life. She became richer, bought new cars, sent her children to the best schools and lived a flamboyant lifestyle. The worst part was that her victim couldn't trace the misfortune to the panties because everything started so well. They suspected everything but not the underwear they wore daily. No, they didn't suspect it. This continued for years until a woman named Ogechi entered the picture. Ogechi was the daughter of a powerful pastor. She had just gotten married and was a month pregnant. She visited the market to purchase new panties. She stumbled upon Esther's stall and without knowing, bought the cursed panties. At first, everything seemed fine, but after 2 months, she suffered a miscarriage, then another and another. Night after night, she dreamt of snakes chasing her. Her health deteriorated and she began to lose weight. Yet every hospital she visited told her she was perfectly healthy. Frustrated and broken, Ogechi went to visit her father and told him everything. After praying for her, her father told her, "There's a pant you bought that is draining your life. Go and bring all your panties." She did as he instructed. Her father took the pants from Esther's store, prayed over it and poured anointing oil on it. It turned to ashes instantly. Ogechi screamed and nearly ran out of the church. "What kind of a demonic pant is this?" she cried. Her father was furious. "Take me to where you bought it." Ogechi, her father and some church members got into their car and headed to Oshodi market. When they arrived, Esther was there, smiling and shining her teeth like a roasted goat, and selling more cursed panties to unsuspecting customers. When Esther saw them, she greeted them in pidgin. "My customers, una welcome. You want buy pants? I get a bonge pants wey go fit your wife well well." The pastor replied in a stern voice, "Where do you get these evil pants? Why are you ruining the lives of women who patronize you? Why are you draining their destiny?" Esther's face changed. She snapped at the pastor. "Who be this one? I beg come out here if you don't want to buy anything. Fake pastor. Mumu man of God." Whoa! She mocked him, but deep down, she was shaking. The noise she made from her stall attracted the attention of people. People around began to gather, listening to the drama. The pastor pulled out his anointing oil and prayed. Then he sprinkled the oil on the panties that Esther was selling. Instantly, the entire bunch of panties turned to ashes. Esther screamed and fell to the ground. People were shocked. Someone shouted, "Bring tire, bring fuel, oh, let's burn her, she's a witch." But before they could act, Esther vanished right there. No one saw where she went. She disappeared into thin air. Panic erupted in the market and people ran in different directions. Ogechi and her father left quickly. Esther reappeared inside her bedroom. She laughed bitterly. "These people think they can destroy me." Never. They don't know who they are dealing with. At 3 a.m., she packed her bags and her 2 sons. Her daughter was still in the boarding school. She woke the boys up, didn't even let them bathe, and drove out of Lagos. She headed to Benin. There, she opened another stall and continued her evil trade. But it didn't take long before some local women who practiced traditional protection noticed her. One grabbed her shouting, "Witch! Witch! This woman is a witch!" Just as they were about to beat her and strip her naked, she vanished again. She reappeared in her home. Her 2 sons were with the maid. She paid the maid and told her to leave, saying she would be traveling. There and then, she packed her things and moved to Port Harcourt. She waited a week before opening another pants store. But karma has a way of hitting hard and loud, and this time it came from within her own blood. It was the end of the school term, and Grace, Esther's daughter, came home to Port Harcourt to spend the holidays. Grace knew nothing about what her mother truly did for a living. In fact, Esther had warned her daughter never to touch or wear any pants from her store. She told Grace that her panties were too expensive and that giving them out would ruin her profits. Grace believed her, not knowing the real reason behind her mother's warnings. One afternoon, Esther left Grace to watch the store while she went to the market to buy foodstuffs for dinner. As Grace sat alone, her eyes fell on a shiny red pant that caught her attention. It was beautiful. The fabric shimmered in the sunlight and temptation crept in. She quickly looked around and seeing no one, grabbed the pant and hid it in her handbag. 2 weeks later, school resumed and Grace packed the red pants along with her other belongings. Back at school, Grace settled in and quickly got back into her routine. That shiny red pants became her favorite. She wore it often, even more than she should have. In the first few weeks, everything seemed perfect. Her grades improved, teachers praised her work, and she felt more confident than ever. It was as if the pants carried a special energy. She thought maybe it was just luck, or maybe her mother's prayers were finally working. But after 2 months, things began to change. The nightmares started slowly. At first, it was just strange dreams of being in a dark forest or wandering inside a massive unfamiliar house. But then the terrifying ones came along. She dreamt of drowning in a deep river while hands pulled her legs from beneath. On other nights, snakes chased her through endless bushes, hissing her name. Some nights, she saw herself being tied to a tree while shadowy figures danced around her, laughing and whispering curses she didn't understand. During the day, she was unusually weak. Her classmates noticed her sudden weight loss. She was always tired, forgetful, and could barely concentrate in class. Then one morning, she collapsed in the school bathroom. The school nurse was called and Grace was rushed to the sick bay. When Esther was contacted, she drove down to the school immediately, confused and afraid. Her daughter, once full of life, was now lying silently with hollow eyes and pale skin. Doctors ran tests, but every result came back normal. "Madam, your daughter is fine. There's nothing wrong with her," the doctor said. But Esther knew better. She had seen this pattern before in her victims. She took Grace home, hoping she would recover with rest, but the condition only worsened. Grace stopped talking, she couldn't walk, and she hardly ate. Esther took her daughter to herbalists, prayer houses, and private hospitals, yet nothing changed. One night, while sitting alone in the living room, a thought flashed in her mind. Could she have taken one of the cursed pants? She jumped up from the couch and rushed into Grace's room. Her heart was pounding. She dug through Grace's bag, throwing the clothes on the floor. Then she saw it, the red pants. It was the exact one Grace had been admiring weeks ago. She held it in her trembling hands, her stomach turned. Tears filled her eyes. She had warned her daughter. She had always made sure her children never touched those pants. She even bought them underwear from other vendors. But this one has slipped through. Panic stricken, she drove to see Ada, the mysterious woman who had supplied her pants that she sold. "Why is my daughter sick?" she cried. "I've done everything you asked. Why didn't you protect her?" Ada looked up from the small white orb she was gazing into and let out a cold, evil laugh. "There has never been any exemption," she said. "Not even you. Anyone who wears the pants pays the price. Your daughter is not excluded." Esther dropped to her knees. "Please, I'll give up the charm. I'll burn everything. I'll confess. Just save my child." Ada turned her back on her. "You were warned and you accepted the terms. This is the cost." Esther drove home in silence. Her tears were uncontrollable. She sat by her daughter's bed all night, praying, crying, and holding her hand. At dawn, she made up her mind. "I'll take her to church," she whispered. "Even if they kill me there, let God have mercy." She barely slept. By morning, she went to prepare Grace for church. But as she entered her room and called her name, she had no response. Grace's body was still and her hands were cold. She was gone. Esther screamed so loudly, the neighbors came running, but it was too late. Her only daughter, her jewel and pride, had died. That day, she gathered every pant left in her house and stall. She poured fuel on them and set them on fire. As the flame rose, she fell on her knees crying and praying. That same evening, she walked into a church, knelt at the altar and confessed everything. The crowd gasped as she revealed her secret, but she didn't care. She had lost what mattered the most. Esther's confession spread like wildfire. The next Sunday, the church was filled to capacity. Some came out of curiosity, others came to hear the truth from the mouth of the woman who had ruined so many lives. She stood there before the congregation, trembling but resolute. Her voice cracked as she began. I was desperate. I was a widow with nothing. And one day, a strange woman gave me a card. She promised to change my life and I accepted. I sold my soul. Murmurs filled the hall, but the pastor raised his hand to silence them. Esther continued. I began to sell enchanted panties. And every time a woman wore them, her blessings came to me. Her favor, her health, her womb, everything. I got richer, younger, and stronger. But it came at a price. And now my daughter is gone. Tears flowed freely from her cheeks as she fell on her knees before the altar. God, please forgive me. I didn't know it would go this far. I just wanted to feed my children. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. The pastor laid hands on her and the whole congregation burst into prayer. Some prayed in tongues, others wept, others just stood frozen, realizing that evil could hide in the most ordinary places, like a pant stall in an open market. Esther began to attend church regularly. She stopped selling. She burned everything, her store, her merchandise, even the signboard with her business name. She started living a quiet life. She gave out food to the poor. She joined the women's fellowship and shared her story every chance she got. But Ada was watching. In the spiritual realm, Ada was furious. She had given Esther power and in return expected loyalty. She had warned her that no one was exempt. From her hidden shrine, Ada sat in front of a black pot filled with smoke. Inside it, she saw Esther kneeling at the church altar praying. She spat on the floor. Ungrateful woman, you will regret turning your back at me. Ada lifted a small jar filled with blood and whispered dark chants. Her fingers twisted unnaturally as the air around her grew thick. She tried to summon the spirits to attack Esther, but nothing happened. The spirits, once obedient, refused to move. Ada's face changed. She repeated the chants, still nothing happened. Her hands started to shake. She looked into the black smoke and saw something terrifying. A bright white orb covering Esther, the protection of repentance. Ada screamed in rage. She threw the jar to the floor and it shattered. Thunder cracked above the shrine and the walls trembled. She didn't know that one of the women Esther had helped was in labor at that very moment, and the child she was birthing carried a spiritual light so pure that even Ada's dark energy could not touch the earth. As the woman screamed in labor, her spirit whirled with Ada's from across the rim. A white flash filled the sky over the shrine. Lightning struck. The roof of Ada's shrine burst into flames, her idols melted and her pot cracked in two. Ada stood up trying to run, but her feet was stuck. She screamed, but no sound came out. Then, a bolt of lightning struck her chest. Ada's body fell to the ground, lifeless, as smoke rose from her shrine. Back in the physical world, Esther was sitting quietly in her church during evening prayers when she suddenly felt a weight being lifted from her chest. She gasped and she looked up. "It is done," the pastor whispered from beside her. "She has been judged." Esther wept, but this time with relief. That night, she dreamt of Grace, her daughter. Grace stood at the edge of a field filled with flowers, smiling. She didn't speak, but her eyes glowed with peace. When Esther woke up, she felt something shift inside her. She wasn't the same woman who danced in her room with ill-gotten wealth. She was now a broken woman, rebuked by mercy. Weeks passed, and Esther's story became a warning. Churches preached about her, mothers told their daughters to be careful where they bought underwears, People started losing trust in pant vendors, and many of them were forced to show proof of their source. One day, as Esther was serving food at a church outreach program, a young woman approached her. She looked nervous. "Ma, I bought these pants from you last year. I lost 3 pregnancies. I thought it was me, but now I know." Esther lowered her head, ashamed. "I'm so sorry. If I could undo it, I would. But I'm here now, trying to make it right." The girl nodded. "I've forgiven you. I just wanted to say it in person." Esther broke down crying. The girl held her and the 2 women cried together. That day, something powerful happened in the spirit realm. Chains were broken and curses were shattered, and slowly the victims began to heal. By the end of the year, Esther had started a small sewing shop. She made wrappers and baby clothes and gave them out for free. Her sons were in school doing well, and her house was small and her life simple, but her heart was finally at peace. Yet she never forgot grace. Every morning, she lit a small candle and prayed by her daughter's picture. She would whisper, "I miss you, but I will make you proud." The pastor often said, God can use even the most broken vessel, and Esther was a living proof. The moral lesson of this story: avoid wearing the same underwear for too long. If you're someone who keeps a pair of panties for as long as 7 years, it's time for you to stop that habit. Most importantly, stay prayerful, because the heart of man is desperately evil. Thank you for watching this story. I hope you learned something valuable. Please share your thoughts in the comment section and let us know what stood out for you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until I bring another interesting story, stay tuned. What kind of a person would sell her sister because of an iPhone 14 Pro Max? Well, her name is Chisom. She was 18 years old, beautiful and arrogant, always looking like a balloon that was about to explode. But beauty was not her only problem. She was proud, greedy and never satisfied with what she had. She always wanted more clothes, more makeup, more followers on Instagram and more expensive things. Even when we had nothing, she still behaved like she deserved everything. My name is Amarachi. I'm 21 years old, the eldest of the 2. We lived in Anambra State with our mother's younger sister, Auntie Njideka, in a small 1-room apartment behind her husband's compound. We didn't always live like this. Before things changed, we were a happy family of 4. Our father, mother, Chisom and myself. Life wasn't perfect, but we had peace. We sold fruits at the roadside in the evening to make ends meet. I still remember the sweetness of my mother's voice as she called to customers and the way my father laughed when we joked about hawking. That day, everything changed. It was a chilly evening, not too dark yet. The sun had just started going down. Our wooden table was set by the roadside like always. Bananas, pineapple, oranges, all fresh from the morning market. My mother was arranging the last basket of oranges. My father stood beside her, holding a small knife, slicing a sample for a customer. Chisom and I were sitting behind the table, laughing about something silly. We didn't hear the sound at first. It came as a whisper. Then it became louder, a roar. A trailer's horn screamed. Someone shouted, "Run!" Everything happened so fast. The trailer lost control on the slope ahead. The driver had tried to brake, but the brakes had failed. The trailer was coming straight at us, heavy with cement, shaking left and right. People screamed and ran. I still remember my mother turning and grabbing us. My father shouted, "Lie down!" But there wasn't enough time. The trailer hit our fruit stand first, then crashed into my parents. They pushed Chisom and me out of the way with all the strength they had. That was the last time I saw them alive. Their bodies were broken, crushed. Chisom and I survived, only because they died trying to save us. After the burial, no one wanted to take us in. Most relatives said they didn't have space or money. It was Auntie Njideka, our mother's younger sister, who agreed to take us, but she never let us forget it. From the first day we moved into our house, she reminded us every morning that she was doing us a favor. "You are not my responsibility," she would say, Don't come here and eat like you're in your father's house. That one is already 6 feet below. We cleaned, we cooked, we did everything. She had no children of her own, and her husband mostly stayed out of her way. He was a quiet man who kept to himself. But Auntie made sure we never forgot that the roof over our head was not ours. I didn't complain. I was just happy that we were alive. But Chisom was different. From the age of 15, she started acting like she didn't belong with us. She hated being poor. She hated eating garri in the afternoon. She hated sharing clothes with me. She hated our room, our life, everything. Amara, this is not my life, she would say. I don't belong in this poverty. At first, I thought she was just frustrated, but I noticed the change. She started hanging out with older girls in the neighborhood. Girls who wore long lashes and tight jeans. Girls who had new phones and didn't go to school anymore. One of them, Cynthia, drove a small car and always had her nails done in gold and white. One evening, I asked Chisom, where do these girls get money from? She replied, what's your own business? Must you remain poor forever? That was the beginning of a dark path I didn't see coming. When Chisom turned 18, she changed completely. She started coming home late. She stopped helping with chores. Her clothes became more expensive. She wore perfume that didn't smell like market perfume. One day, she came home with a new phone, an iPhone 14 Pro Max, midnight purple. I stared at her. Where did you get that? I asked. She smiled. Someone bought it for me. Who? Someone who loves me. I felt sick. It wasn't just a phone. It was the beginning of something bigger and darker. Our auntie didn't ask questions. She was just happy that Chisom was bringing money home. She never cautioned her to see that she was doing the wrong thing. She even defended her when I complained. At least one of you has sense. Not like you, Amara, with the brain of a fish. You better stop behaving like a village girl, she said. My heart was heavy. My only sister was doing the wrong things and there was no one to caution her. I felt really bad and missed my parents. Because if they were alive, they would have called Chisom to order before she went overboard. One day, something strange happened. I woke up around 2 a.m. to drink water. Our small plastic curtain between the beds was half open. I saw Chisom kneeling by her bed, whispering into her phone. She was holding a small mirror in one hand and something that looked like a red powder in the other. I stood there for a moment. Her eyes were open, but it was like she couldn't see me. She was smiling, not the normal smile, a strange white smile like someone talking to its spirit. I coughed. She jumped up and quickly hid the mirror. What are you doing? I asked. Nothing, she said, looking away. I was just praying. I knew it was a lie, but I didn't push. I was afraid. A week later, she told me we had been invited to a party. Just you and me, she said, at a hotel. Free food, music, drinks. I said I didn't want to go, but she begged. I want to celebrate with you, she said. I don't trust anyone else. Something in her voice made me feel sorry for her, so I agreed. That Saturday evening, we dressed up. She gave me one of her dresses to wear. It was tight and I didn't like how it made me look. You look perfect, just follow me, she said. When we got to the hotel, I noticed something strange. There were no other girls, no party music, no food, just a small room with a big bed and white bed sheets. She told me to sit and wait while she went out to get something. I waited for 20 minutes but she didn't show up. Then I heard voices outside the door. 3 men. One said, "Is she ready?" The other one said, "Yes." The sister brought her herself. My blood went cold. I looked around. There was only one window, and the only option I had was to go down from the window. I opened it and pushed myself out and ran barefoot through the bush. Branches cut my leg and stones tore my feet. But I ran like my life depended on it, because it actually did. I ran into a church around 2 a.m. and they happened to be having a night vigil. I collapsed right there inside the church. When I opened my eyes, I saw them surrounding me praying. They helped me, cleaned my wounds and called the police. When I told them what happened, they couldn't believe it. I went back home very shocked. I couldn't believe my sister Chisom had become this evil. Who knows how many more girls she lured to that same room to be killed, I whispered to myself with my body shaking. I told my aunt what really happened. She decided we would go to the police to make a report. Some policemen followed me back to the hotel where the incident occurred. We made inquiries and the hotel attendant confirmed that the room was booked in Chisom's name. She had signed her real name in the ledger. 3 days later, Chisom returned home unaware that I had escaped and was home before her. She thought I was killed. That was when she did something unbelievable. She told everyone that I was missing, that I followed a man and disappeared. She started crying in public, tearing her clothes and screaming my name. My sister, oh Amara. She posted it on social media. She went to church and gave testimony. She acted like a heartbroken sister, but the police already knew the truth. They followed her that evening after service and they arrested her in front of the church gate. She shouted, "You don't understand, she was my only hope." Then she turned and looked at me standing at the side and she whispered, You're still alive? Oh, you ruined everything." Those were Chisom's words as the police dragged her into the van. Even as her hands were handcuffed and her hair scattered from all her screaming, she didn't stop looking at me like I betrayed her, like I had stolen something that belonged to her. I stood on the church pavement trembling, the same church where she just gave testimony and lied in front of God to the whole congregation that I was missing. I was too numb to cry and too shocked to speak. Everything was happening so fast, but somehow it all felt like a dream I had had before. A terrible dream that was coming to life. That same evening, I followed the police to the station. I needed to give an official statement. They made Chisom sit in the corner of the small interview room. 2 female officers guarded her, while I sat with Inspector Bala, the officer in charge. "Amarachi," he said, "take your time. Tell us everything you know. Don't leave anything out." So I told him everything, from our parents' accident, to our life with our aunt, to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, to the party that wasn't really a party, and the 3 men at the hotel. Every time I mentioned something, Chisom would hiss or look away, like I was exaggerating, but she didn't say a word. When I finished, Inspector Bala turned to her. "You have heard everything your sister said. Do you have anything to say?" Chisom sat still. She then smiled, a small strange smile, and whispered, "I didn't kill her, so what is my crime?" That sent cold shivers down my spine. The next day, the investigation began. They searched Chisom's phone and found her recent chat with Cynthia, the same girl she used to hang around with, and the messages were disturbing. The priest said the person must be blood-related. Will she suspect? She trusts me. After this, I'll finally travel. Even the hotel booking records had her name. She had booked the room days before, and that room had blood-stained bedsheets even though I didn't bleed or get touched. That means there had been another victim before me. That was when the horror deepened. The police found out that Cynthia and another girl from her neighborhood had disappeared 3 months earlier. Her name was Amaka, a 16-year-old that people believed had run away. But she didn't run away, she was used. Chisom wasn't the only girl involved. The investigator uncovered a small ring of girls trading names, photos and even body samples, hair, blood and used clothes to a spiritual priest. In exchange, they were given phones, clothes, laptop and promises of foreign trips. Some of the phones were tracked and recovered. One of them had videos of rituals done in a forest shrine at midnight, girls dancing around a fire, a priest chanting, "She must never find out until the spirit has taken full hold." My stomach turned. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, the police brought in a spiritual consultant, a local elder with experience in cases like this. He sat with Chisom in a quiet room and for 2 hours they talked. No one knew everything that was said, but when they brought him back out, his face was pale. "She's not fully in control anymore," the man said. "She made a blood oath, a real one. She promised her own blood in exchange for something dark." "What exactly did she promise?" I asked. The man turned and looked at me. You? It was like my heart stopped. Chisom had offered me in a spiritual sacrifice, not just to trick me, not just to use me, but to submit me to a spirit. For what? I asked. The man answered quietly. For visibility. She wanted fame, popularity, rich followers, a visa. She wanted the world to bow to her beauty. But that's just social media, I shouted. She nearly took my life for social media. She doesn't see it that way, he said. To her, it was a small price for a bigger future, and once the oath was made, she couldn't back out unless she brought someone else. I nearly fainted. Later that day, Chisom confessed partially. She told the police that one of Cynthia's connection, a man they called High Priest, told her she had a powerful bloodline, that she would never become rich unless she gave up something she loved. She claimed she tried to offer herself at first, but they said no. They needed someone pure, someone with blood related. I tried not to think about it, she said, but the moment I saw the phone, I knew it was worth it. I broke down in tears. My sister never really loved me. Back home, Auntie Njideka refused to believe it. My own Chisom? No, she's just a child. She blamed me and said I was lying, that I was jealous of Chisom's success. Until the police brought Chisom to the house and searched her wardrobe. Inside her shoes, they found a small black calabash wrapped in red cloth. Inside the calabash was a piece of cloth with my name written on it with charcoal and one of my earrings. A week later, Chisom was moved to the juvenile prison while they prepared for court. They allowed me to see her one last time. She sat behind bars, looking nothing like herself. Her eyes looked tired, but her mouth was still smiling. You think you've won? She asked softly. You tried to kill me, Chisom, I said, trying not to cry. You promised me to something evil. You don't understand, Chisom said. The world is wicked. You either join them or you suffer. At least I tried. I stood there shaking. I loved you, Chisom, I whispered. Her smile faded. For the first time, she looked like she wanted to say something true, but she said nothing. I turned and walked away. That night, I dreamt of our parents. We were by the roadside again. They were standing beside our old fruit table smiling. They reached out and pulled me close. My father said to me, You were never alone, Amara. I woke up the next morning with my pillow soaked in tears. The dream felt so real. My father's voice still echoed in my head. You were never alone. But I couldn't forget Chisom's face either, standing in the shadows weeping silently. She wasn't just my sister. She was someone I shared my whole life with, and yet she had almost given me up for a fool. The courtroom was packed. People from our neighborhood filled the back rows. Some came to support me, some came to see if the rumors were true, others just came for the drama. The judge was a stern-looking woman who didn't smile once. Chisom walked into the courtroom in handcuffs, escorted by 2 officers. She wore a plain blue dress. Her makeup was gone and her hair uncombed, but her face was still calm and proud, like nothing could touch her. I sat on the witness bench, and for the first time I told the whole truth in front of the law. I talked about our childhood, our parents, the accident, how we grew up with our auntie, how Chisom changed, how she invited me to the hotel that night, and how I escaped. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. When I finished, the judge looked at Chisom. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Chisom looked at me and looked at the judge, and for the first time since all this began, her voice cracked. I didn't mean to destroy her, she said softly. I just wanted to escape poverty. I was tired of begging. I was tired of Gary. I was tired of watching people my age drive cars while I was washing plates. When they told me all I had to do was give someone clothes, I agreed. She paused. I didn't know she would survive. My heart dropped, and the people in the courtroom gasped. Chisom began to cry, real tears, but it was too late. The judge didn't take long to rule. Chisom Njoku, she said, this court finds you guilty of attempted murder,
conspiracy to commit ritual activity and endangerment of human life. You were hereby sentenced to 10 years in a juvenile correction facility, followed by an additional sentence upon review when you turn 21. Chisom broke down. They picked her up and carried her out of the courtroom. She was screaming, "I didn't kill her. I just wanted a better life. I'm not evil." That evening, I walked home slowly, thinking about everything. The memories, the lies, the look in her eyes when she realized it was over. Auntie Njideka didn't say anything to me. She had stopped talking much since the arrest. Her shame filled every corner of the house. I packed my things that night. I didn't belong there anymore. I needed to heal, to rebuild. I left Auntie Njideka's house and moved to my mother's village. 1 week later, I returned to the same roadside where our family used to sell fruit before the accident. The store was long gone, but the ground was still remembered. I stood there quietly for a while, then lit a candle. I placed it on the earth for my father, my mom, and the life that was stolen too soon. I whispered, "Thank you, I'm still standing," and I walked away. Now, 2 years after, I work with a volunteer women's organization that helps girls escape dangerous peer pressures and rituals. I speak in schools, churches, and local radio stations. I tell them my story, and I always end with this. Some girls lost their sisters to death. Some lost them to mistakes. I lost mine to a phone. The moral lesson of this story reminds us that when someone shows you who they truly are, believe them the first time. Don't lose yourself trying to fit into places you don't belong. The people who push you to do wrong won't stand with you when the consequences come. Stand firm in your values, because peace of mind is better than temporary approval.